Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Chiseled. And why do we call it Chiseled? Because we're all a work in progress. I'm your host. I'm Rob Commodari. I'm also the author of the book Better Than You Think and co-author of the book Next Level Your Life with Kyle Wilson and several others. Today, my guest, Mark Victor Hansen. And I could stop right there, everybody. And if you're into reading, you should know that name. If you don't, I'm going to tell you who it is now. So Mark Victor Hansen, born 1948 of Danish immigrants, known as an American inspirational and motivational speaker and trainer, but best known for the co-creator of Chicken Soup for the Soul book series. He teamed up and co-partnered with Jack Canfield. Was it back in 1983? The book first sold 2 million copies and now has sold over 500 million copies. I can't wait to talk about this. And after I don't want to call it a breakup, but after they parted ways, let's call it that, right? After they parted ways, Mark went on to co-write a few other books. One of the most popular is The 1 Minute Millionaire, which many of you may know about. So Mark has been on Oprah, CNN, The Today Show, featured in Time and Time Magazine, U.S. News and World Report, the USA Today and New York Times, and many others. Mark, thank you for being here. Welcome to the show, and I am honored and excited to have you here today.
My mother would be so proud of you saying such nice things about her son.
Well, she made you. She helped make you, right?
She did, 100%. My brothers and I all look alike. When we'd show up in kindergarten or first grade, they'd say, "I know who you are. I had your big brother. I hope you're nicer than he is." No, they didn't say that. we all were very respectful of our teachers.
Yeah, so you were born in, was it Waukegan, Illinois? And what was it like growing up?
Well, that's a blue collar city, and my dad was a little Danish baker, who obviously he didn't have the education I've gotten, didn't study the business models to build empires. Like I've built 4 empires, and I'm very thankful. And I would, but my dad wanted my brothers. The old country teaches, you ought to be the heir apparent. He wanted me to take over the bakery, and I worked in it, of course, because that was a mandate. In addition to cutting lawns and delivering newspapers, all that little stuff, because we didn't. Dad, look, I'm a white glove guy. I'm not exactly sure how that's defined, but I'm sure that's what I am. I want to think like Napoleon Hill said, "Think your way rich." I want to think my way rich, and have certainly done that. And I think, I've inspired millions and millions to do the same thing.
So you just said to think and grow rich, or think your way to growing rich. When did you first get introduced to this whole personal growth and development world? Was it before you started writing or after?
First of all, I got addicted to education because I had a great English teacher that just wowed my soul. We can talk about Mr. John Reinhardt, but I think when I was at Southern Illinois University, they hired great and inspiring speakers to come in once a week, and it was mandated as a freshman that you had to go. You would not graduate as a freshman to a sophomore unless you had your little tickets clicked, and there were 5,000 of us in that class. And a guy came that was an ex-prisoner that read Think and Grow Rich, Bill Sands. My Shadow Ran Fast is the title of his book. And he said, God and good are 1-0 different. He said, Clinton Duffy, he said, look, you're way too smart to be in a slammer here. You need to read this book, Think and Grow Rich, visualize your way out of the slammer, get out, and then help a lot of other prisoners get out and stay out. And I heard him, and the next year they hired him back. And I said to the head of speaking, was one of my teachers, Dr. Paul Hibbs. And I said, Paul, can I be his bodyguard during the time? And we got together like that. And I thought, I read Think and Grow Rich, but I read it superficially. The deal is if you read a book and you read it once, you don't get it, right? And I thought, wow, I'll just put a picture of the Cadillac on my wall here, and I'm going to have me a Cadillac while I'm going to college. It didn't happen. And I thought it was a fault of Think and Grow Rich and Dr. Napoleon Hill. It wasn't his fault. I didn't understand at depth how you had to program your mind. Now, Bob Proctor and I have taught you have a 3x5 card, and you say, I'm so happy and grateful that I'm doing X by X to get X. So I'm so happy and grateful in Chicken Soup Land to sell 1.5 million books in a year and a half. And, I signed it, Jack signed it, our publisher signed it, and the publisher said, you guys are $1 wonders. This will never work. I don't think this is going to happen. And then we sold blow past that. And then I wrote down the next year, I'm so happy and grateful we're going to sell 5 million books. Unrealistic, unbelievable. Nobody does that. And then the next year I wrote down, I'm so happy and grateful I'm going to sell 10 million books. We did it. And then I said, finally, we're going to sell happy and grateful. We're going to sell 15 million books in a year. And we did it. Nobody's done that. And then we were more times on USA Today lists than anybody else. We got a Guinness Book of Records for that and a few other things. So you can set outrageous goals if you really commit and have the courage to commit at a cellular level, this is all I thought about. What Bill Sands talked about was it's got to become your magnificent obsession, right? Napoleon Hill said it's got to be your dominant thought form. And he learned that from Andrew Carnegie, who's my hero. And I'd love to have everyone to go to Andrew Carnegie's house in New York at 95th and 5th Avenue, or go to Dornoch, Scotland. I've been there too. But the first line is, authors are the wealth of the nation. Now, I changed one word to authors are the wealth of the world, Andy would say. Here's a guy with a third grade education and gave us libraries. Second line is, no man or woman can get rich without enriching all others. I mean, I don't know about you, but so if you're not rich, it means you're not reading the right stuff, thinking the right stuff. And that's why Andy gave us 4,817 libraries in America, which you said you went to, and I certainly have gone to and taken my kids and grandkids to.
It's amazing. So you graduated in 1970. You connected with Jack Canfield in 1993, or you started the Chicken Soup for the Soul series then. What happened in that 23-year gap? Did you always want to be a speaker out of college, or did you write on your own prior to that? What was going on in that 23-year gap?
Well, when I was in graduate school at Southern Illinois University, I got with the smartest guy on the planet, as far as I was concerned. Dr. R. Buckminster Fuller did geodesic domes, spherical buildings, inventions, and was Einstein's best student, and finished Einstein E equals MC squared. And he made it so simple everybody could understand it. And the publishers wouldn't publish Bucky in New York. And he graduated head of his class at Harvard and all that good stuff. And so Bucky said, well, there's one guy that knows whether I know his stuff or not. And he said, who's that? Wise guy. There are only 11 people that know Albert Einstein stuff. He said, well, send it to Dr. Einstein at Princeton. Bucky gets his call from Princeton, says, young men, you absolutely amaze me. Come over here, be with me at Princeton. And Bucky and Al became best friends. And then I got to hang out with Bucky, ultimately for 7 years. First of all, I was a research assistant to him. And I went to New York to build geodesic domes because I tried to be Bucky, which I went bankrupt because that was like a dumb ass squared idea on my part. Right? You shouldn't be anyone else. You got to be you. And then I prayed to God and said, well, what is it I want to do? And that's why we wrote this book on, you got to be asking yourself, and there's only three asks: ask yourself, ask others, ask God, which you've read. And I asked God, what do you want me to do? And God in 1974 said, no, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to talk to people that care about things that matter, that would make a life transformative difference in their life. And next morning I go to breakfast, talk to my 3 roommates in Hicksville, Long Island, New York, not very far from where you live on the East Coast. Anyhow, I said, guys, anybody young out speaking without a cotton top, white hair like me, without being a Broadway star, a movie star, a celebrity, a lawyer, or a doctor? And the guy said, yeah, he's probably 10 or 20 years older than you. Chip Collins was talking to all the real estate guys. And he made Barbara Corcoran her $1 billion. So yeah, he was a really good coach, mentor. But so the guy said, here's your little ticket. Take your little ticket and use it, and just tell them you're me if they need it. There are 500 people. As you remember, interest rates were anyone from 21 to 28% in 1974. Right. I go into a room that is, rooms have energy, and his room was down. I mean, these people were angry and mad at the government, mad at the Arabs for writing checks so bigger banks could out. And Chip came in, and Chip was smart. He was really good. He went to Hofstra University Graduate School, studied Black Studies as a white guy, which is sort of amazing. And, was a top salesman at Kodak, and he was ambidextrous, meaning he could write with 2 hands. And the joke is, the guy sees a guy writing with 2 hands, says, man, I give my right arm to do that. Chip would write with his left hand what the guy said, and then what he thought he'd do a better job with his right hand, and barely made it as a speaker. But he came in and he just wowed this audience. He was a wow of wows, and in 3 hours took them from down, dead, gloomy, not able to make a sale, to buoyed up, feeling good, feeling like they could beat in their chest and go out and conquer the world. Well, I go up to Chip at the end and I say, Chip, Mark Victor Hansen, and I want to buy your lunch. Now, you won't believe this because you're so young, but back then there was no microphones. There was not this, and there wasn't a lavalier mic. So he's shouting to 500 people, right? Just like old presidents. You watch the tintypes of Teddy Roosevelt or somebody, and it is fascinating that his voice was all burnt out. So he said, what do you want, kid? I said, I'm going to do what you do. He said, look, kid, go get a job. This is not a real job. Go get a real job. Why do you want this? I said, just let me decide what I can do and can't do. So I buy his lunch, and he says, stay out of real estate in the 5 boroughs of New York. I'll teach you how to do it, but you go to the life insurance business. It's a bottomless pit for motivation. Now, I didn't own life insurance. I didn't know what a premium was. I didn't know what a CLU was, which the joke is, the chartered life underwriter, a cunning, lonely, and unhappy. I didn't know anything. I didn't have any money to buy insurance either. They say, go out and train these people. Here's the questions. Here's what to do. And I'm going on holiday for 2 weeks. When I get back, you won't be here, but if you are, I'll meet with you again. I came back and I had 28 talks booked. And he told me charge $25 for 4 sessions, prospecting, presenting, good work habits, closing. Well, it just took off because he said, you'll knock on 10 doors, right? And one will say yes. Well, that first day, it's now 7:30 at night, and I go to this Metropolitan Life Insurance office. There's nothing there except a big Cadillac. Now, this is before Mercedes and the foreign cars are in America. And I said, well, it must be the owner, manager, general agent's car. So I go in, and I don't know anything, but there's nobody in the office. I go to his office. He thinks I'm trying to get a job selling insurance. And we had a great time. And he was this big, I think he probably weighed in 350, 400 pounds. He was a man of substance, shall we say.
Big guy.
You had a few of those in New York, if you've been there. Couldn't have been nicer. We had the greatest time. We had a Vulcan mind meld. And Chip taught me the 4th question, which was critical. Do you want to cut the check, Rob, or in this case, Tony, or Heather's secretary cut? Well, hell, I know there's no secretary. I came there. I can cut the check. I'm ready to walk out, and we've had a great time. We've scheduled the 4 meetings, come in, got prospecting, presenting, good work habits, closing. He said, Mark, here's a directory to everybody. Oh, here's what he said. I got to do his voice, too, because I like it so much. I'm the biggest guy, the #1 guy in the #1 life insurance company in America. They call me Big Tony. You can see why they call him that. He says, you call everybody in the directory, Mark. If anybody says no, you call me back personally. Big Tony, you got it, kid? You know, he's Italian. You know, understand that, right?
Oh, yeah.
You understand the Godfather position. What did he do? He gave me a gold mine. I went from office to office. Now, remember, Chip didn't tell me everything, but suddenly I'm in an office building with Metropolitan, and there's Guardian, there's State Mutual, there's Pru, and they're all together. It's like when you go to McDonald's, mothers get tired of going to McDonald's. So what do? They put a whatever, Del Taco next to it or whatever, right?
Taco Bell, Burger King.
Whatever, something. They're all next to each other because parents get tired of taking the kid to get a Happy Meal. And I thought, man, I got a gold mine. So by the time Chip got back, I had 28 4+ talks. I've gone from being bankrupt, which I was because I went bankrupt trying to build domes, and longer story, but it was my best, worst experience. I wanted to kill myself for a while, but now I'm selling and I'm making money. I'm having fun. And then the people say, well, wait a second, kid. You are the best storyteller ever. You've got to write a book. And I need this story for my company or whatever. So I quickly self-published my first book, Stand Up, Speak Out, and Win. And I sold it to little audiences, 6, 10, or 12, like little real estate offices, except they're real insurance. And I said, this isn't a New York Times bestseller. It's not a national bestseller, but it is my bestseller. They all laughed. Thought that was funny. I want to sign it to you, your wife, your kids. And Rob, if you're in the front seat row, I'd say, if you got a dog, I even want to sign it to your dog. Well, the first day I'm talking to an audience, 37 out of 37 bought it at $10 each. I went, and they're all cash. Remember, 1974, there's no credit cards, none.
Right.
Zero, ain't existing. And I'm having a ball. Man, every day I'm doing 4 talks selling this. The first year I sold 20,000 copies at $10. That's cash. That's 200,000. Today, that's like $2 million, man. I had arrived. I was a who again. And I bought myself a brand new Chrysler Cordoba car with white Corinthian leather. I mean,
the Chrysler Cordoba, right? I remember that.
Lee Iacocca, say, and then I later got to have dinner with him and thank him for that. And he gave me a hug. He was also Italian, as you know. And I said, Lee, I got to do just one other thing. My immigrant parents came here. My brothers and I heard you. We all have done really well in the American dream. I can talk about them if you need to. And then I took my daughters to Ellis Island, where we bought this giant plaque because Lee said, do it. And Lee said, Mark, I thought I needed $6,000 to do that. And he said, $6 million came in because of generosity of people like you, wanting to celebrate their parents. And when I took my little daughters there, they were 5 and 7, and said, "Daddy, why are you crying?" I said, because my dad had the guts to leave a socialist country and hate socialism because it's tested, tried, and failed every time, everywhere, by every leader. It can't work. The only system that works, it's got foibles, is ours. So what system is that? I said, capitalism. And I promise you, as you grow up, you're going to know what a capitalist is, because that's what your dad is, a flaming capitalist.
So your parents came in through Ellis Island as well, huh?
Yeah, and I got to be careful here, but they're tough on women. They were not nice people. How's that?
Yeah, I understand. My dad came in through Ellis Island from Italy. He came in 1950, I think he came in. So, so I've been up there. It's amazing. It's just to see it. So I can understand, like you said, your daughter said, "Daddy, why you're crying?" I can imagine that feeling. My brother pulled the with the manifest of all the people who were on the ship, and I see my dad's name, his brother's name, his mother's name, all the manifest of the ship, and it's such a cool thing to see.
Oh, and God bless Lee for having the courage to say, "Look, I'm going to celebrate all these people that came, because legal immigrants made America great, and meritocracy makes America great." I mean, my dad never even questioned that he had to work 18 hours a day to run his little company. And he happily, the biggest word he knew was proprietor, I think. I got to be careful. I don't want to, he didn't have the education I've got, but, somebody would say, "What do you do?" He said, "I'm the proprietor of an elite bakery." And I just, God, the old man's glowing. I love it. I love it.
So that was the start of your writing career. Is that right? In 1974 then?
Yeah. And then
so
Jack and I met in 1988 or so, 80.
Okay, that was going to be one of my questions. So 1988, you met Jack.
We were both on the talk with 6,000 people, and he comes up I'm the tie-up speaker, and he never saw anyone sell product like I sold product, because Cabot Robert taught Zig Ziglar and I how to sell. And, there's only 10 of us maybe making $1 million a year at that time. And he said, "Can you teach me that?" And I said, "Yeah, you've got to finish with heart-touching, soul-penetrating stories." And then all of a sudden we're at a breakfast meeting and called The Inside Edge, which we're both on the board of, with Wayne Dyer and everybody that was famous at that time. And after he talks at that breakfast, and they said, "I put together your 65 stories." I said, "I'm going to do it as a book." "You can't." I said, "I own the copyright and all those. Those are my stories, Jack. You can't unless you do it with me." And that's how we got it together from my point of view. Now, Jack tells the story a little bit different, but that's one of those two stories is somewhere near true.
So did you train him or he trained you, right? He'll say one thing, you'll say another.
Let me just do one of the lines. His wife is a doctor in Georgia. I loved her. And he put goals on the ceiling. I'm like, "I'm so happy and grateful. I'm going to make $1 million by selling this many books this year." And, she's very sophisticated, exceedingly educated, and a wonderful, wonderful woman. And Georgia said, "You don't really believe that crap Mark's teaching." He said, "Look, it works for Mark. Why don't we try it?" She said, "You were third in your class at Harvard. They didn't teach you that at Harvard, did they?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, most people at Harvard are broke too. So that it isn't, it's not like it's possible."
Wow. So you were buying into the affirmations, if you will, right? And did you get that from reading Norman Vincent Peale, or was something else that came at you that you started writing the affirmations?
I read everybody that existed, but I went to Norman Vincent Peale's church every Sunday morning at the Collegian Church. He and I became great friends. He was getting a little older at the time, and his wife always had me sit in the front row with the Darts and the Crafts and the biggest business guys in the world. And I didn't know how to know. I remember I had Chip Collins, who was great selling real estate, but he didn't ever tell me I should befriend those people, go to their parties, spend time with them, network with them, and become a billionaire, right? I didn't have that in my mind, and so I didn't do it. But I love Norman Vincent Peale. And later on in his life, when he was in his high 80s, I owned a company called Look Who's Talking that booked all the best speakers around, and he and I do these giant positive mental attitude rallies, and I was his bookie, so to speak. Just as a cute aside, like this. We'd always have dinner at like 4:00, and he'd always have an apple pie and a piece of cake at 4:30 in the afternoon. I said, "Norman, why are you?" Because he wasn't walking and stuff, and I already knew I was running 7 miles a day, and I knew that you got to exercise. And he was like 89 at the time. And I said, why are you doing that? He says, at my age, you don't know how long you got. Man, you are shortening it. You are shortening it. But I loved him, and he was sweet, and he lived 101. So good for him.
Yeah, so you're connecting with these guys, like you said, you want to get together with all these different people. Like I like to phrase it as this is the sandbox I want to play in. You know, people like you, like Kyle, like Ken, and all these other guys. It's like I didn't know there was a sandbox until several years ago, right? And now I know there's a sandbox. And speaking to you today, like you're in that sandbox with me, and I'm just appreciative of that. So did you, at that time when he told you that, did you did the light bulb go off and say, this is it, this is where I want to be?
Oh, totally. And then I got to meet every speaker because I'm one of the founders of National Speaker Association. I'll talk to that. But one of the guys was Charlie Tremendous Jones.
Yeah.
And Charlie, who made his money by republishing out of print books and writing a foreword to him. And he's doing 100 million a year. And I was at Charlie's office and home a lot of times. And Charlie says, you're going to be the same person you are today, 5 years from now, except for three things: people you meet, books you read, and the tapes you listen to. And I thought, well, I listen to tapes everywhere in my little car, whether it's a Volkswagen when I'm bankrupt or the Chrysler Cordoba and then other cars I kept buying. And I still do. I mean, like, I exercise an hour a day, and I'm forever listening to somebody great.
It's amazing. It's funny. I met Dennis Waitley, I don't know, 6 months ago or so, right? Yep. And I saw him about a month on a Zoom call, about a month prior to that, 92 years old. And I'll never forget, we was talking to a group of us, and he said, sometimes I'm in my room studying. And I'm like, studying? 92 years old and studying. And that's inspiring to me.
Yeah, Dr. Waitley and I have been friends for at least 40 years and been in a lot of programs together. But, he's a former Blue Angel. And if you've never seen those guys fly together, they're amazing. You better have proprioception, meaning you better not, because you go 1 inch off, you blow the guy up next to you and you blow up with the wings of the airline thing. So he's got great stories and I would say that Dennis is and he spells it Denis, is the poet laureate of the speaking business, unequivocally. And he owns a mansion down in La Jolla, and we've talked literally around the world in different places, Australia and everywhere. And we've come back from Australia, and we had endless conversation. I like Dennis a lot.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to spend time. We were in his house for 2 days. We had a little mastermind there, and I was there just I think it was September. So just amazing. Totally appreciated that. But so you're start selling these books, Mark, right? You're selling them, and did you ever you wrote those affirmations on the ceiling, right? Or you were reading them up above. Did you ever pinch yourself? Did you ever I can't believe this is happening?
I still pinch myself. Because here's the deal. One of my cliches is your imagination creates your reality. And that's why, there's 4 parts to the human being. There's the spirit, the mind, the body, and then the results. Spirit, mind, body, and results. If you live in your spirit, and this is where, you wake up at 3 a.m. and you're going, by the way, it's not an accident that you wake up. You say, well, I got to go pee. Yeah, well, that's true. But if you can't get back to sleep, it's God's trying to talk to you, because it says, be still and know that I am God. God's telling you what to do. And in my case, it was to write books, and now I got to be careful with the next line, but I'm sort of a major publisher. I mean, we want to help you publish your books, and they're blowing and going. And it's so exciting to see stuff. People that can't get published come to me, and I help them get published, because we take people's impact story and bring it to life. And we're doing stories now that are literally going to change the world. One from a guy who national security, another a woman about, the title is Fertility and Infertility. The woman that's 90 years old here who created Child Help, which has helped 13 million kids get out of abuse and neglect, has a healing church because she is a spontaneous healer. And she once a month, Sarah O'Mara, we wrote a book called Healed. And she said, well, what's going to happen when I do this? Because she'd never done a book. And I talked to her at 88. She said, I'm pretty old to do a book. I said, no, you got this many stories, just like you do. And as you do them, you'll find out you got a lot more, and it's endless, right? Because information's endless. She said, well, what's going to happen, Mark? I said, Sarah, your church is going to blow out. And we had to give her money to blow out the front door and the back door because it went from little to, it's called the little chapel, to
and that's a big chapel.
yeah, now it's a bigger chapel. And it's amazing what can happen, because a book is the best marketing leverage tool that ever existed, because a book goes places you can't know. And can I give 2 more stories on that?
You go.
So I told you, I watch everybody that's doing cool stuff. And obviously I want to be big everywhere, inclusive of social media. And I think I watched this YouTube thing with a billionaire software guy interviewing the lady who has 1 billion views a month on YouTube, and just amazing, and TikTok and all that. And her name is Adlai Kinsman. And I tried to get to her, and she's in Nashville. And there's no way to get to Adlai, none, zero, nada. So I say, well, I'll look through every interview. Somebody interviewed her that's interviewed me, because I've done more podcasts as an author. I don't have a podcast, but I get all my authors on podcasts. We asked 3 questions. Did you like it? Like today, will you give me a link to this podcast, Rob?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Would you like my great friends to be on your podcast? And the answer is
yes.
Yeah. And then number 3 is get me on one other podcast as big as you or bigger, so I keep growing. Anyhow, I want to go with Adlai. I looked through all the list of all the people that ever interviewed her, and there's a wonderful guy in the podcast who made $50 million at 19. I did a book called The Richest Kids in America, How They Got That Way, and You Can Too. Right? Isn't that a cool book?
Yeah.
And I interviewed him I did a book with Art Linkletter when he was 98, and Art and I are interviewing all these little kids. And Art says, where the hell were you when I was interviewing kids? I would have had you in my show. I said, Art, I wasn't born yet. I'm sorry. I wasn't available yet. And anyhow, and Art would always tease and have great fun with us. Anyhow, Fleshman had interviewed her, and I called up Danny and I said, Danny, he said, Mark, you made me so much money with that book. Everybody comes and buys. Back the time he did a T-shirt that says, "Who's your daddy?" And so, so I said, Danny, I need you to get me to Adlai Kinsman, if you would. He said, no problem. He immediately sends a text to her. Right within a nanosecond, I have a text back from Adlai. I get goosebumps telling you this. I know. Tell me if it sounds braggadocious. I don't mean to. This is exactly what happened. So Adlai writes back and says, Mark, you don't know, but you've made me a rich woman. I make 8 figures a year because of you. And hell yes, I want to talk to you. Because I didn't know how to get a hold of her. And I immediately text her back and say, give me 2 times when you're available. We'll have a Zoom call together and it'll be great fun. Well, we get on the Zoom call, and the first thing she said is, well, I read your 1 Minute Millionaire, which I have here somewhere. I got one behind me somewhere. Anyhow, and I was bankrupt upside down, and I'd been Miss Tennessee. I'd been the top country singer at a young girl, and my lawyer stole everything from me. And all of a sudden I'm reading your 1 Minute Millionaire, and you're talking about your best friend, Nora Roberts, who you and she raised enough money for 15,000 kids to go to Boys and Girls Clubs with Coca-Cola. And she was such a prolific author. She writes, she can't type, she can't compute. I mean, this is an author who sold 350 million books. She writes longhand on a yellow pad and does 1 book every 2 weeks, Nora Roberts.
That's crazy.
I said, Nora is such a prolific writer. I said, the good news and the bad news about the publishing industry, they allow you to do 1 book every 2 years when I started. And I said, Nora writes under 4 different pseudonyms, false names, fake names. JD Robb, Nora, anyhow, you don't need all the names. But she said, you made it, the lights go on, because you said there's 1 million ways to make $1 million. There's one perfect, easy, acceptable way to use. She said, I just changed my name to Adlai Kinsman. I suddenly was a new person. She said, I had no problems at all. And I've gone out and I've now got 1 billion views a month, and there's nobody bigger than me, and everybody pays me to go on my show, like Toyota and everything. And she said, but I got to do a book. I said, well, that's what I do now, is I'm one of the fastest growing hybrid publishers, if not the fastest in the world. And I'm having a ball because we're going to open up the whole world. She said, good. Can I hire you today? I said, well, yeah, but we got to talk a little bit first. And it would just, here's the point. Remember where the story began. How effective are books? There's no way I would know that I made her any money. There's no way I would meet her if I didn't write a book. There's no way I would meet her if I didn't write books that helped a heck of a lot of people, not only me, but all these kids. I got the piece of artwork that in the room here from one of the kids, who is so amazing. She gets $1 million a piece of artwork and did as a little kid. It's so exciting that the possibilities are endless of what you and I can do if we plan to do something big. That's why you can't, if you think small, you get small. If you think big, you get big. And it just, there's just so much possibility of what you can do. I want to see if this picture is in here. This girl at 8 years old drew a picture of Jesus and started selling it for $1 million. I mean, it just,
it's amazing what the mind can do, right?
Oh yeah. And her parents were atheists. That's what's even better. I mean, I
think you told me this story when we were on a call a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just, I want to show you the picture. I think I put a picture of artwork in here. Akion Kramarack. Well, here's a picture of the Virgin Mary when she was 14. She wrote that. I don't know if you can see that.
I see it. I can see it. I got it.
Yeah. Well, the picture I have on the wall is she's got God's hands, and it shows God with little babies in the universe, and just you go. And she signed it to me and said, "I'm giving it to you because nothing has meant more than me than you put me in a book, and I'm just a kid." I said, "But you're a kid with like so super phenomenal talent." And her dad said, "Well, and her dad's Mark, and so we're best friends." And said, "You're our friend forever. You can come here and stay at our house, look at all the artwork. When you go online and look at her artwork, you go, no kid can have that talent." I mean, she's self-trained. I mean, I don't know if you believe in reincarnation or anything, but somehow God gave her talent that I've never seen anywhere else.
Awesome to hear. I mean, I'm sitting here as you're talking. There's a couple of things I jotted down here, and I'm like, okay, because I'm talking to you. I'm like, I hear this energy, and I hear this confidence, and I hear all the success. Was there any any time along that path that Mark started to second guess himself? Did you go through the imposter syndrome at all? Did that ever hit you?
I don't know that it doesn't always have a place to pulsate in and out, but here's what I teach and believe. I overbook myself, so I haven't got time to be an imposter because I got another call with you after I just finished a call, and I got another call after this. So I don't get to sink into the blues. Here's the point. You can only get depressed if you're depressing yourself, meaning if you keep saying, "I'm not good enough, I don't know enough, I'm afraid, I'm going to screw up." It's like you and I know when you go to an audience, you got to all the different things. You got to see that the audience wants you to succeed. If you know 75% more than they do, and you know more about real estate than almost anyone does, and we're going to keep giving you new stuff, like we're doing a book with a guy who's going to solve all the problem of 1,000 a day veterans foreclosures. Well, we're doing that book for Mike Littleton, who's a guy who's going to be, you don't know him yet, but I promise you and he are going to be best friends. You're going on each other's podcast just because I'm telling you are. And
there you go.
So, because the question is, we're doing a book with the top military guy out of South Africa, David Fabricus. He happens to be in town right now. We had dinner with him the other night, but he asked 4 questions. Number 1 is, what is your soul's journey? Isn't that a good question? Or what's your soul's destination? And then number 2 is, what is it you plan on contributing during your life? Well, that's a great question. Anyhow, he does 4 questions like that. And they are mind expanding questions. That's what an author or a writer or a speaker or a thought provoker does, is gets inside your soul. Like my stories, you go, whoa, man, my perception's wrong. I got to fix that up. I got to say I love you to my mother or my wife, my kid, whoever, right? I've been, like you and I talked about your books coming out. Your dad was close to the vest because that's what men were taught.
Yeah.
You won't go tell 7 sibs, right? 7 siblings?
I'm one of 7, 6 brothers.
Okay, 1 of 7. Like Crystal's 1 of 9. So, and we got one of her sisters here right now. So the point is that, everybody pulsates. There's no business goes up straight line. You lose some business, you come back, you go forward. And we all have experiences, and success is always uphill. And the other thing is that my belief is that success is a platform for more success, more service, more. I want to see how many people I can serve. Can I really serve somehow 8 billion people and it doesn't have to be my books. It's books like yours and all the people that we're going to help, because people who can't get pregnant, now we got a book. There's no book on real fertility for the lay person. We get somebody that's a lay person. The title of the book will be Fertility or No Fertility, and you can't buy it yet because it's not done. But the point is, I think the stuff we're doing, and I should only talk about books that we've done, because all the books we've done have done dynamite. I better go back to a book that's out right now that's burning, like they sold 20,000 on Monday. Just amazing. Travis Hearn is a minister here in Scottsdale, the fastest growing church in America. He's the next Joel Osteen. He's an amazing presenter, spellbinding preacher. But 2 years ago, he has a blood a blood hemorrhage. It's got a big long word, and I'm blanking on the word right now. And they take him to Mayo Clinic, which is the best emergency medicine on the planet. They do 18 billion a year here, so this is big. Everyone thinks Rochester, Minnesota, but it's bigger here. Anyhow, and the doctors tell his wife Natalie, no way Travis is going to live. She said, no, you don't get it. Travis deals with the physician in the sky. He's coming back. So Travis calls me up and said, hey, Mark, we got to do this book. We got to do it and get it out. And we did it. And it's rocking, because the guy's supposed to be dead. And the guy's live in front of 10,000 people, four services every Sunday. And the trouble is that he said, Mark, you're dealing with the biggest biographies with all the biggest landowners here in Arizona. Find me some land. In Metro Scottsdale, there's no land left. He needs acreage to build another place like Joel Osteen needed to build, and he ended up buying a contact center. And Joel and I are close friends, and we're doing some stuff together. But and by the way, there's no way I could have predicted back then that I'd be doing that now. I mean, most people say, you retire, you're rich. I can't retire. There's too much important stuff to do. And I thrill to talk to you. I'll help. We're going to help Travis find 100 acres so he can build a real facility that can keep growing, because he's going to live long and prosper, nano, right? And he can't have more people in his church because he can't fit them. There's nowhere to go. He owns a shopping center and it's not big enough. Isn't that a mind blower?
It's great. And look, I appreciate and inspired by what you just said there, because you're like, you're, if you don't mind me saying, you're 77. You don't need to work. You probably don't need the money, but you have this enthusiasm and you have this energy that you want to help others, and you want to help others succeed. And you come and you have these ideas, like we were talking the other day, and you just kept throwing out these ideas, and I'm mesmerized by it. So I'm totally inspired by the conversation. So thank you for that.
Well, me too. And the best ideas haven't been had yet. It's like, God only gave me 4 real talents. One is I can write and I can speak pretty well, and I can promote and love it. But number 4 is I see not only more business nobody else sees, just like this, what I'm telling you about, we're doing Travis's book, right? I see the market for him, and we're gonna do it. Make no mistake, we're gonna exploit it, because he's a chaplain to the Phoenix Suns. And as you know, my grandson has said at 18, Grampy, I'm gonna be a Phoenix Sun, make $30 million a year. And I said, then what are you gonna do, son? He said, Grampy, then I'm gonna be a manager. I said, then what? He said, then I'm gonna buy him. I said, son, you're 12 years old. That is $4.8 billion, and Grampy is not helping you buy that. I said, oh, don't worry, Grampy, I'll have the money. And he makes $1,000 a month now, house sitting, and waters the plants and makes sure nobody's robbing his neighbor's house. He gets $20 a house and hires his little friends to guard the houses with him. It's so cool, because he said,
nice little entrepreneur, right?
Yeah, because he said, Grampy says, he's got 4 principles. You got to earn all you can, save all you can, invest all you can, so you can give all you can. And his little sister, twin sister, he's got twin boy and a girl sister, and that little sister says, Grampy, I just won the spelling bee. And I said, and what word did you do that with? Madeline said, Grampy, I spelled philanthropy, and I don't know what it is. What is it? I said, that's the 4th thing Grampy's been teaching. In church, we call it tithing, and I wrote a book called The Miracle of Tithing, but in life, in business, it's called philanthropy. And you got to have surplus so you can take care of the people that can't take care of themselves one way or another, and really make sure that you roll up your sleeves and you do the work. And if you walk up to my grandkids, they all know Grampy's 4 principles. There's no ishiness here.
You just said roll up your sleeves and do the work. Now, I believe if you have the capability, if you have the unique gifts and talents God's calling you to use, I think you have a responsibility to do that. Would you agree with that?
Totally. Let's go to the first part. Not maybe. You are obligated. And that's why we wrote this book, Ask, The Bridge from Your Dreams to Your Destiny, because we say, here's the only way to find your soul's destiny. if you don't know what you're supposed to do, you're on a soul's journey. This isn't a mistake. God doesn't make any mistakes. At least I don't think so.
Right.
Atheists love to argue with me, but I said, look, nothing times nothing equals. Rob, do you know math enough to know nothing times nothing equals
Zero.
zero? Therefore, God is something, and he created something, and this masterpiece he created is you and I. And that masterpiece is we're here for 3 C's: create, contribute, and be charitable, right? And now if you're here, you're supposed to create, and oh, wait a second, I'm 55, I can retire. No. Oh, I'm 65, I can retire. No, I got $1 million, I can retire. No. Where does it say in the Bible, go thou and retire, thou art now 65 or 72 or 86? It doesn't. And the people that are living a full life, like I've talked to you about, Art Linkletter was contributing at 96, and Norm Vincent at 101, still preaching until he died, and it didn't retire. And my friend here, Sarah O'Mara, has a little chapel in Child Health. She still works 78 hours a week. She is a happy camper, because you can only be happy and have meaning in your life if you contribute.
Yeah.
Contributing, back to your question, is depression. Depression and expression. I want to be part of expression, not depression.
You said a few things. I wrote a couple notes down here.
Please.
You said I see business no one else sees, right? And right away it triggered a thought. Do you ever see the movie Patch Adams?
Oh, can I show you something that you aren't even going to believe? Wait, hold on a second. Yep. Where do I have that? Okay, I got it right here. Okay, where are you? Oh, here it is. So as you know, I built a $100 million company on 1 Minute Millionaire. We did 40 seminars a year, 40 weekends a year, and had 4,000 people. And we were just having a time of our life building this. And I thought, well, who could I hire that I like? And I love Robin Williams. He's unobtainable. But here's Patch Adams. And you can see Patch Adams has got me wound up tight and laughing, because Patch Adams is a real medical doctor, a real and a real healer. I don't know, he may still be alive, but Patch just wound my clock up, and we had so much fun. And he's teasing to the whole audience of 4,000.
That's a great picture. That's a great picture.
Going, oh, Mark, right?
But
you got teenagers, right? Teenagers roll their eyes when you go, or when they were teenagers, you go, come on, Dad. And
they still roll their eyes when they're older than teenagers.
Yeah,
but he said,
I love Patch.
Yeah, so he said, see what no one else sees. See what no one else sees, because they don't see it out of fear, conformity, and they're afraid of failure. I forget exactly what the line is, but I love that line. See what no one else sees. See the world anew each and every day, is what he says in the movie. And I'm like, that's how can you? I guess here's the question: how can you train yourself or train somebody to see what no one else sees?
What we taught in the book.
And I just got chills when I said that, Mark. I got chills.
No, it's the right question. That's why. Because if you think right, you talk right. If you talk right, you act right. If you act right, you get the right results right here, right now. So the point is, every night before you go to sleep, you close your outer eyes, open your inner eyes, go in a stage of your imagination. And you're done talking to your spouse, the kids, the animals have been put away. The phone's not going to ring. It's whatever time it is, 11, 12, 9, whatever time you go to bed. And 101 times before you go to sleep, you say, and one of the questions is, God, what's your destiny for me? God, what's your destiny for me? God, what's your destiny for me? Now, you got to know that in the middle of the night, you're going to wake up and you're going to have the answer, but you got to wake up and tell your spouse, because there are a lot of men and women listening, I got to have my pen and paper, because if Mark's telling the truth, I'm going to have the answer and I'll write it down. So when Jack and we sat in my jacuzzi and we wrote 134 different titles for the Chicken Soup book, I said, Jack, we know we'll have the right title when we get Goosebumps, God Bumps, or Chili Bumps. It isn't hitting. They're great titles, and they're funny, and they're light, and they're bright. And, Jack's really lucid that way, too. I said, let's go in our respective homes. I lived in Newport Beach, California at that time. He lived in Santa Barbara, California. I said, we'll go in our respective homes 101 times, say, mega best-selling title, mega best-selling title, mega best-selling title, mega best-selling title. And it's sort of the same thing Napoleon Hill did. His original title was How to Make a Boodle with Your Noodle. And the publisher said, Nap is his nickname. Nap, that title sucks. If you don't come up with a better title, we're going to go with it tomorrow. And Nap did 101 times best-selling title, best-selling. I wanted a mega best-selling title. I wanted world's best-selling title. Anyhow, so Jack calls me up, and remember, this is before cell phones, so every phone's connected, and my daughter is becoming a veterinarian, and there's 88 animals on 1 acre in Newport Beach, and there are 4 phones inside, outside, and the phones ring, the dogs bark, the chickens squawk, the place goes frigging nuts. And Jack says, chicken soup. And I said, for the soul. And we both got goosebumps. Now, 144 publishers.
I just got them now.
yeah, he just turned us down. My joke is, they said, hit the road, Jack, but that's not true at all. Jack is a very lovable, likable guy. I just can't resist that joke. I know I shouldn't do it because I love Jack, and Jack loves me.
Right.
Anyhow, so every one of us has got to say, God, what's your destiny for me now? God, what's your destiny for me? God, what's your destiny for me? You've got a destiny. And let me just take you to the end of that. The end of it is when you die and go to the other side, all the near-death experiences have the same thing. You get there, and if you didn't do what you're supposed to do, you signed a contract. It says in Revelations, in the book of life, you signed an agreement what you're going to do. I don't know what you're going to do. It's not my job to know. God knows, and you know, your inner knower knows, but you came in with amnesia. And what happens is when they go to the other side, it's more beautiful, more colorful, better music, humma humma. And the big guy says, or the spirit of the light says, Rob, you didn't do what you're supposed to do. Adios. And if you look on YouTube, there's 20,000 near-death experiences. My wife and I have watched a lot of them. They all say the same. I don't want to go there and not be done. I want to be done. I want to have fulfilled my soul's destiny. And I think I'm doing it. I mean, the audience, knock on wood, my audiences think I'm pretty cool. And people reading the books pass them along, and they think it's cool. And I'm still selling and getting checks, so I must be doing okay.
You're doing okay. So you made me feel better because you said you wrote, 144 titles? Is that what it was? 144?
134 titles, yeah.
Because I'm sitting here, when I wrote my first book, and you see that it's behind me, it's a poster of the book, Better Than You Think. And I remember that the editor, she's like, Rob, I need a title. And I'm like, I wrote 42 titles, so I don't feel so bad now. I wrote 42 titles, and I sent them to her, and she's like, I don't like any of them. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. She's don't like any of them, right? I'm like, wait a minute, this is my book. I can title it what I want. And I'm like, but you've got 20, 25 years experience here. I guess I gotta lean into you. So, Mark, this is, here's a spiritual experience that happened to me. The whole time I'm writing a book, I get up every morning. I'm looking right across my office now, and I got this big whiteboard, and I had 16 one-words. I told you this, 16 one-word like theme chapter titles. Yep. And I wrote like stories. I'm sorry.
Like awareness. Yep.
Yeah. And I wrote stories like I got the losing $450,000 story, the playing catch story, my first speech story. So I've got these stories under all these different words. And so the whole time I'm writing the book, I would get up every morning. I'm sitting right in this chair that I'm sitting in right now. And I look at the board. I'm like, all right, God, what do you want me to talk about today? What do you want me to talk, or what do you want me to write about? What am I going to write about? What am I going to write about? Right. And I just look, and then boom, it would come to me. Right. So I've written the whole manuscript. It's been edited. I'm a month and a half away from being published, and I don't have a title. And so I wrote all those 42 titles out, and she's like, no. So I'm like, you know what? I got to go back to the drawing board. So Mark, I walked in this door. I stood behind this desk. I didn't sit down. I stood, and I looked at the board, and I'm like, all right, Holy Spirit, talk to me. Talk to me, Holy Spirit, talk to me. And I looked at the board, and I'm looking at all these stories on the board, and I got tears start coming down my cheeks. I'm like, holy cow, my life is better than I thought it was. I never thought it was that good because I didn't see it. I didn't put these stories in writing. And I'm like, I can't tell you your life is better than you thought it was, but I can say it can be better than you think. And then bang, that was my title, Better Than You Think. That's what happened. It's special to me. It might not be catchy or special to others, but to me, that's right then and there. I had chills. I had tears. I knew it was it.
You need to tell every audience that story because everyone is better than they think they are. That's the point. Is we all come out of I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I'm an imposter. All of us have some issue with that sooner or later, whether it's in mathematics or science or church or whatever, right? I can't go to church again because I've sinned. Or whatever the story is, we've all got our little story, and then there's also the bigger story.
Yeah, so it's amazing. I love that you shared that. And then I think about I think about race car drivers, right? I mean, these guys are going 150, 200 miles an hour. They're bumper to bumper, and they see air. Think about that. They see. How can you see air? To me, that's awareness, right? I see what no one else sees. I can see air. No one sees air, and so that's it's very profound for me. I don't know how you feel about that, but I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Totally. And they see where the space is, right? They see it's what in hockey, what's his face? The world's greatest hockey player says, I go where the hockey puck's going. Everybody else is going where it's been. Too late.
So that's good.
And that's what I'm doing in the book business. I'm going where it's going because it's going to be bigger, better, stronger than ever. And we're doing books, because we're in a time, we've been in an ungodly time, we're going into a godly time. And for some reason, 80% of the books we're getting are spiritually oriented, like yours, right?
That's
and
awesome.
People are spiritually aware. And we didn't solicit that. We don't write that in our indicia, but it happened. Maybe because the law of attraction, I've sent out that vibration, and my wife has, and we pray and meditate an hour every day together, and we are, she was my bucket list. I wrote down 267 things I needed in my ideal wife, all impossible. And then I saw her, and she had a radiant glow, and I call her the goddess of exquisiteness, and she is, right? It's just amazing.
That's great. Great. Mark, you said something way back early in the conversation here, and I wrote it down. And you said, and it's 3 words, but 2 of them are key. And you said you got to have the courage to commit. Courage to commit. What does that mean to you?
Well, let me do the opposite of it, because so many people are using drugs right now. Like the gateway drug is, of course, marijuana. And I don't do any drugs, even pharmaceutical stuff. But the marijuana, it does 2 things. It'll wreck you. Number 1, it kills love. And number 2, it kills ambition. And I know some glorious people that I think the world of that are doing it. And they say, no, it doesn't hurt them. I said, no, it's killing you. I couldn't hire you. I can't employ you. I would never recommend you to anyone because you've killed your ambition. You're born, God gives you desire to rise higher and higher. It's the first chapter of Think and Grow Rich. Desire is a Latin word. It means I've never even taken anyone here before except you. The sire. What's the sire? Consciousness impregnating subconscious, which is going to bloom with results if you don't goof it up by too much alcohol, too much drugs, too much whatever you're addicted to that is anti. If you have the courage and commitment, like I didn't tell anyone at first that I wrote down, I'm going to become world's best-selling author. I didn't even tell Jack. I certainly didn't tell my ex-wife, right? She thought I should retire and drink martinis every night and watch the sunset in the house we'd bought. And we had a gorgeous mansion in Kona, but that's not me. I couldn't do that. I'm here to contribute. I'm only happy doing what we're doing. And I think I have the most glorious life. Now, do I want anyone else to do what I do? No, but they are supposed to do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And if everybody does what they're supposed to do, whatever it is, 7 or 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, whatever makes you happy. Now, Elon Musk does 100 hours a week, and he makes me happy because, boy, he's bringing back astronauts from space. As we talk, some people are going to say, well, you did that a long time ago. Well, because people are going to watch our interview 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now and go, boy, those guys, what was happening?
Well, exactly.
Here's a guy who's got 8 multi-billion-dollar business. He shows you what up is.
Yeah, right.
And he understands my cliche. You've got to make the decision in consciousness imploded into the subconscious. That'll make the provision.
So you said another word. You said decision. So I always think about decide, commit, and succeed, right? And that's the whole P90X thing. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yes.
But what's that?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so the P90, so decide, commit, succeed. Think about it. I mean, there's 3 crazy words, but if you make a decision, you commit to that decision, you're going to succeed. I don't know at what level. I don't know how high, how long it's going to take, or how short. But I believe that. Now, I'm a work in progress, and I'm working on that. But I'm doing a presentation. I'm sorry.
You're doing great.
Thank you. I'm doing a presentation tomorrow. I'm doing it on the word commitment. Commitment. And one of the questions I'm going to ask is, what scares the living daylights out of you about the word commitment? It scares people. It's because I got to take action. I got to be held accountable. I'm afraid of failure. I'm afraid of success. Maybe the imposter syndrome comes up. All these things come up. And I'm like, you said have the courage to commit. That means have the courage to possibly fail. But I don't think you fail because you learn when you fail, right? You would agree with that, I imagine.
You're learning
So it's like have the courage to maybe fail, to maybe succeed, have the courage that you got to take action, and action creates momentum, right?
Totally. And the more you do, the more momentum you got. By the way, the joke about commitment is there's the committed, the uncommitted, and those who should be committed.
Yeah, I've heard that. That's great. So it's like as I'm talking to you, Mark, and when I present tomorrow, I'm not just presenting to people. Sometimes I'm presenting in front of people to myself.
Totally correct. And if you
And
get the message, they'll get the message.
so I got to get the message.
Yeah, right. Because life's a mirror; it's a reflection system, and it is an echo effect. And the reflecting echo effect is it even as I do this, it re-inspires me to make sure I want to keep working. I mean, how great is that? Because I love what I do. I've written today. I've already had another call today. We're getting another couple books today. Curiously enough, we live up at the top of a mountain, and we climbed a mountain here called McDowell Mountain. We live on it, and in a little wonderful place called 100 Hills, gated community, great houses, great neighbors. We met a neighbor the other day, and we're just talking to him, and he said, "Holy cow, I want to write a book." And I'm a Marine major who's done really well because I secured every nuclear power plant America owns. And now I want to write a book about security that I'm doing. And he said, I want to call it Life, Liberty, the Pursuit of Happiness. And I talked to him this morning, and like he says, my favorite thing is Thomas Paine's Common Sense. I said, well, here's my line. What's common is not sensical. What's sensical is not common. And he said, can I use that? I said, yeah, I wouldn't mind if you quote me because I write all these quotes and have fun doing it. And we're doing his book because he thinks America's lost its common sense, and he's correct. And it's exciting that I didn't know him as our neighbor. I mean, if you walk on this trail, it says you got to be a member of 101 Hills to do this, but I don't know who lives here. I mean, we all have little compounds, right? Anyhow, the guy's becoming our new best friend, but it's only because I'm in a business that I can help and serve so many people. And then the thing I do that no one else in the publishing, I introduce my neighbors to my neighbors or my clients to my clients, because I think that's the right thing to do. Just like if I bought a house from you, hopefully you get me to the right insurance for the house, the mortgage for that. Yeah. That's your job. It seems to me.
Yeah. I become a resource to people, not just an agent. I'm a resource. Yeah. Hey, I got to tell you, Mark, you said something else earlier. You're talking about like, you love what you do. You have this energy. It doesn't sound like you want to retire. And I'm like, I don't think I say to my wife, I'm never going to retire. I mean, I might retire in real estate and do something else.
Yeah.
And we were talking on the phone the other day, and she said she was talking to somebody about retirement, about her husband's retirement. And she goes, I'm screwed. My husband's never going to retire. But anyway, so I'm going to ask you, Mark, here you are, you're 77, you got a ton of energy, you got a big business going, you've built these empires. How much more chiseling is God going to do for you? How much more is he going to chisel away at you?
Okay, so when I was with Bucky Fuller, he said you got to have 10 macro goals, big goals, impossible goals. Because if a goal, I want a new car. Well, hell, you already bought a new car, so that's not a really big goal. You bought another new car, big deal, right? So the point is, I wrote down 10 macro goals, which I've put in my books. I want to housed humanity expeditiously and omniconsiderately. I want to educate uneducated humanity. And we're really doing that with books, because for the first time, given AI and AGI, our books are literally going to go out to total humanity, and they're going to go out in multiplicity of forms, audio and stuff. We're going to do stuff nobody's ever done, because God bless all the publishers. And I'm with 8 major houses like Random House and like Penguin and like Hay House. And all of them got my book, and they pay me, thank God, knock on wood and all that. But they think 17% of the market that speaks English is enough. I don't think it's enough. I think if you speak Swahili or Hindi Urdu or Canadese or Telugu or any one of 676 languages, which now we can go into, we're the first time that you can go out into all the world. And so, these are giant goals. I want to I own a piece of a little company that we're going to recycle everything. We're going to take metal back to metal, glass to glass, because our garbage dumps are filled with $3 trillion worth of atoms and molecules. And in physics, nothing ever gets destroyed. It just gets recycled and reconditioned and reformatted. And this genius physicist, computer geek, Dean Rose we're doing his book, of course. what the heck are we? I can't remember what we're calling Dean's book right now this minute, but he's spent 35 years and $300 million figuring out how to take garbage dumps and turn back into resource. So America has unlimited resources because we got all our garbage dumps are full, and we're going to stop poisoning the ground and humanity. Isn't that cool?
It's amazing. It's amazing.
You need to write 10 goals that are impossible.
Okay.
Impossible means I am making it possible. I'm just defining the word because God bless Webster. He did a good job writing these words, but that's not the end. That's just the beginning.
So Mark, go there. You said you got to write 10 goals that are impossible. So there's going to be the people, and I'm probably guilty of this at times, that because you write that goal, that which you believe is an impossible goal, and you get excited about it, and then you might have that comment, yeah, right.
The comment that, all right, look, when I wrote down we're going to take all the stuff that we call waste and convert it back into a resource, there's no way I knew how to do that. It was in theory, right? But did I know I'd meet Dean Rose and we'd become best friends and figure out how to do it? No. Did I know that I would be the world's best-selling author? No, it was a theory, and I just kept practicing and made it so. And now I'm big enough, powerful enough, connected enough that I can get with anyone on the planet, anyone.
That's amazing.
And
so I got to say,
in there too, you're going to be in that same place because you can speak, you can write, and you can think. These are like major talents.
I appreciate that, Mark, because it's like that's the sandbox I want to be in. Like I told you earlier.
Well, you're in it. You're in it. You can't get out of it now. By the way, and here's the deal: it's a life sentence.
I love that. I love that. Mark, man, I don't know if there's anything else you want to share, but man, this has been amazing for me. And I asked you if you pinched yourself, and I pinched myself when I talked to some guests. I'll pinch myself today after saying I got off the phone or off a call with Mark Victor Hansen, because it means the world to me that you gave me the time to sit here and talk and share your story with everybody that's going to listen.
I hope you have me back and have my friends, and you're going to have the time of your life, because each one will have you grow. You know, you're born overconnected with 18 billion brain cells. I don't know what the real number is, but that's the number I've been told. And most of us don't use them because we don't give enough in thought to because the mind is teleological. That means it's goal setting and goal getting. You got to have big goals. And when you got big goals, the world opens up to you. If you got no goals, the world can't open up. It can't open up more than you ask it.
Yes, you got to ask it. And there's your book, Ask, right behind you.
That's it.
Mark, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, or somebody wanted to participate in one of your books, or be involved in the Mark Victor Hansen Library, which is cool, how would they get a hold of you?
If they go to markvictorhansenlibrary.com, and it's spelled just like it sounds, MarkVictorHansen library, library.com, they can just fill it out and they'll get to us. There's no problem. And I answer those letters. And you know, we want to help we think everyone's got a book in them and a story in them. And yeah, we charge, but it is worthwhile because they get more out of us than we get out of them. And I want everybody to become fulfilled. And you got it. Like you said, the minute you start writing your story, you found out who you were. The minute you wrote it on the whiteboard, you go, holy cow, right? I mean, whatever words you use, but that was the essence of it. Wow. And that's it. And if they want to write me, they just write me personally, reception@markvictorhansen.com. The letters come to me. Reception. That's a big word, but you can look it up at markvictorhansen.com.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you made me think of one more thing, because you talk about the charity stuff, and you said, I've read it in a Wayne Dyer book, and you're talking about charity and giving and our responsibility. And I remember he says, he goes, the giver in an act of kindness often receives the same, if not more, than the recipient themselves. And I'll always remember that. Yeah,
he and I did a lot of talks together. We're great friends in Maui together a lot of times. Yep.
So you gave me your time and your wisdom today, and I'm forever grateful for that, Mark. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Until next time, everybody, let's go get chiseled.